Hello everyone. Welcome to the Tech Tuesdays webinar on ephemeral clusters and overview. I am Vrinda and I'll be hosting today's webinar. This webinar is going to describe on the ephemeral cluster task available in Informatica's data engineering integration. It gives an overview of this feature and how it works with closed ecosystems like Azure, AWS, etc. The session will be presented by Sampata and Puneet. Both of them are experienced at supporting and troubleshooting data engineering components. Before we start this webinar, here are some housekeeping tips. The webinar will be for 1 hour. That includes a 45 minutes webcast. And then we will roll over to live to answer your questions for 15 minutes. All dial-in participants will be muted so that the presenters will be able to present without any interruptions. Your questions can be submitted through the Q&A section that you see on the screen, and we'll be addressing them to the end of the presentation. The webinars will be recorded and will be available in the Informatica Support YouTube channel and the Success Portal. The link will also be emailed to you. Please set aside some time to complete the post-webinar survey and provide your feedback and suggestions for upcoming topics for the Tech Tuesdays webinars. The Tech Tuesdays webinar is a webinar series included within the Success Portal. The Informatica Success Portal is a micro-learning platform that offers free and unlimited learning to all registered users. The Success Portal lists your success offerings, your customer success manager information, bookings available in the Ask an Expert session, and customized recommendation and content. Over to you, Puneet and Sampath. Thank you.
Thanks, Inda, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Puneet. I have Sampada in the call. We are from the Informatica Data Engineering Integration team. The topic of today's presentation is ephemeral cluster and overview. The agendas of today's presentations are ephemeral cluster supportability from the DEI, prerequisites to create the ephemeral cluster, cloud provisioning configuration, how to create the workflow components, the command line utilities, ephemeral cluster supportability from the DES, followed by we will have a demo, and then we'll know a few troubleshooting steps. At the end, we'll have a Q&A session. Before we start, let's try to understand the DEI release cycle. As we continue to evolve in new technologies and the new architecture, we evolved from the big data world to the broader new stack, and we updated our technologies and called it to what is closer to our customers and the use cases. And hence, we changed the naming convention from the BDM to DEI. So DEI stands for the Data Engineering Integration. Going forward, all our Informatica Big Data products will be called as DEI. And a similar way, so the VDS products has to change, the name has changed to the DES, the Data Engineering Streaming. In early 19, Q1 we released 10.2. On the same year, Q4 December we released 10.4.0. So now the latest release is tracked on 10.4.0.2. And we recommend all our Informatica customers to upgrade to our DEI or the DES latest release. Now let's talk about the ephemeral cluster supportability from the DEI. Ephemeral cluster is a cloud platform cluster that you can create to run a mapping and the other task and then terminate when the tasks are completed. Here the intention of creating an ephemeral cluster is to save the cloud platform resources, and ephemeral clusters can be used on both DEI and the DES job. To talk about the use cases, when you have a job which runs only once in a day or a week like the production job, in these scenarios, just to run a single job in a week, keeping the cluster up and running all over the cloud will involve a lot of cost. To talk about the DES use case, if you want to shut down the cluster end of the day, and if you want to start the next day morning, and if you would like the BDS mapping to start from the offset where it had left, so during these use cases, the ephemeral cluster concepts will suit. So these are the prerequisites to create the ephemeral cluster. Make sure like you have the BDM or the DI license, and ephemeral clusters can be created over the cloud provisioning connections. And you can create the cloud provisioning connections on the AWS or the Azure or the Databricks. Make sure you have all the required fields and the details. you want to create the AWS cloud provisioning connections, then you should have the AWS access key ID and the AWS secret access key and the region, EMR role, EC2 instance profile, and the EC2 subnet. If you are going to create Azure cloud provisioning connections, make sure you have the subscription ID, the tenant ID, the client ID, the client secret, and the Azure storage account name and the Azure storage account key followed by the virtual network details. If you would like to create the Databricks cloud provisioning connections, then you should have the Databricks domain name and the Databricks token ID. The creation of the cluster workflow requires both the administrator and the developer task. From the administrator task, make sure to verify the prerequisites, create a cloud provisioning configuration and the associated Hadoop connection. From the developer task, create the workflow components, create the mapping task, and create the delete task, and you have to deploy and run the workflow. Now let's try to understand what is cloud provisioning configurations. The cloud provisioning configuration, it establishes a relationship between the create cluster task and the cluster connection that the workflow used to run the mapping task. Here, the create cluster task must include a reference to the cloud provisioning connections. In turn, the cloud provisioning configuration points to the cluster connection that you create for use by the cluster workflow. Here, the properties to populate, it depends on the Hadoop distribution which you're going to choose. If you are choosing the AWS cloud provisioning, then it connects to an Amazon EMR cluster on the Amazon Web Services. If you are choosing the Azure cloud provisioning, then it connects to an HT Insight cluster on the Azure platform. If you are choosing the Databricks cloud provisioning, then it connects to the Azure Databricks platform. So this is the screenshot which I have taken it from the 10.4 Informatica DEI admin console. Under the connection, you would be able to see there is a new category called cloud provisioning. So there is a 3 are listed. One is AWS cloud provisioning, Azure cloud provisioning, and the Databricks cloud provisioning. So clicking on that, you would be able to create any of the cloud provisioning connections in order to run the ephemeral clusters. So you can run a workflow to create a cluster that runs the mapping and the other tasks on the cloud platform clusters. Here, the cluster workflow uses the other elements and that enables the communication between the data integration service and the cloud platform, such as the cloud provisioning configurations and the cluster connections. Create a workflow to create a cluster and to run on the Amazon AWS or the Azure cloud platform. It is also possible to create a workflow and to create the Databricks clusters on the Databricks environment. On the Azure platform, you can also create an ephemeral HT Insight cluster that access the AWS Gen 2 resources. On the AWS platform, you can also create an ephemeral Amazon EMR cluster to access S3, Redshift, and the Snowflake resources. So this is the screenshot which I have taken from the 10.4 DEI developer tool. This is the workflow screenshot. As I mentioned here, you have to create the workflow components in order to run any ephemeral clusters. As you can see, there's a create cluster task and the mapping task and the delete cluster task has created here. And this is the screenshot I have taken it from the create cluster task under the general. So you could able to select one of the cloud provisioning connections. Here I have selected Databricks as the cloud provisioning connections, and I am selecting the associated connection type as the Azure Databricks. So if you are using any Azure cloud provisioning connections, then you can, in the drop down, you can list out and you can select the HT Insight clusters. Suppose if you are using any AWS cloud provisioning, then in the connection type, you can able to select the EMR as the connection type. From the mapping task, as we all know, if you want to run a mapping, you have to select one of the execution engine. So once you select the execution engine, make sure in the connection you have to select auto deploy, as the mapping will be deployed on the ephemeral cluster. And this is the delete cluster task. So this delete cluster task will be directly associated with the create cluster task. Once the mapping gets completed, then the cluster will be get deleted automatically. Now let's try to understand few command line utilities in order to list the clusters which got created from the cloud provisioning connections, or if you want to delete few clusters. the transient or the ephemeral clusters, or if you would like to export the site XMLs from the ephemeral cluster. So here I have listed only few commands. If you would like to know more about the InfaCMD commands, then you can refer to Informatica 10.4 DEI user guide. The command is to list all the clusters is the CCPS list clusters. Followed by you have to specify the domain name and the username and password, and you have to specify the CPCID. CPCID is the cloud provisioning connection name which you have created to run any ephemeral cluster. If you would like to delete ephemeral or the transient cluster, the command is the CCPS, the delete clusters. Followed by you have to specify the domain name and the DA's name and the username and password. And also you have to specify the CPCID, that is the Azure or any cloud provisioning connection name, and the cluster name which got created by using the CPCID. If you would like to export a site XMLs to create the CCO connection from the ephemeral cluster, the command is cluster export configuration. So now let's try to understand the ephemeral cluster supportability from the DES. As a streaming customer, they should be able to use the ephemeral cluster. The main intention of having a ephemeral cluster on the DES is to resume the mapping execution from where it had left if the cluster goes down and comes back. The main use case here is like if the customer wants to shut down the cluster towards the end of the day, and if they want to start the next day morning, and if they would like the BDS mapping to start from the offset where it had left the time of shutting down the cluster. So Informatica DI 10.4 has started supporting, there is two new properties under the mapping runtime, that is the state store and the checkpoint directories. The state store location can be of any S3 or the ADLS. So this is the screenshot which I have taken from the 10.4 DI developer tool. So as you see, like there is a new two properties got added. One is the state store connection and the checkpoint directory. So this checkpoint directory will store all the offset address. So if you would like to start the mapping from where it has stopped, then it picks the latest or the last offset address from the checkpoint directory and resumes the mapping from where it had left.
Now let's move on to the demo session. Here I will be going to cover how to create the cloud provisioning connections and the associated Hadoop connections. Followed by, we'll develop a mapping having the source as the ADLS and the target as a Hive. And then we'll develop a workflow having the components like the create cluster task, the mapping task, and the delete cluster task. And then we'll deploy the workflow on the HT Insight ephemeral cluster. So I have logged into Informatica 10.4 DI admin console. Here under the services and nodes, make sure the DAS and the MRS services are up and running, and you have the valid license key in order to run any ephemeral cluster. And go to the connections here under the new connections. Under the cloud provisioning, you could see the three categories. One is the AWS cloud provisioning, the Azure cloud provisioning, and the Databricks cloud provisioning connections. So if you'd like to create a AWS cloud provisioning, click on the AWS cloud provisioning, click on OK. As I mentioned in the prerequisite slide, you should have the region details and the EMR role details and the EC2 instance profile details and the EC2 subnet details in order to create the AWS cloud provisioning connections. Similar to that, if you would like to create a Databricks cloud provisioning connections, then select the Databricks cloud provisioning connections and OK. And under the connections, you should have the Databricks domain name and the token ID in order to create the Databricks provisioning connections. So let me log into the Databricks workspace and I'll show you how to get the Databricks domain name and the Databricks token ID in order to create the Databricks cloud provisioning connection. So here I have logged into the workspace, the Databricks workspace. Here under the URL, you can able to see. So this is the Databricks domain name. Is the centralus.azure-databricks.net. I would like to see create a generate to create new token. Go to the user settings, and there will be an option to generate a new token. Click on generate new token, and you have to specify the reason. And by default, the lifetime of the Token will be of 90 days. After 90 days, the token will be get expired. So you can set it based on the company security policies. Then you can generate a token. So this token can be used during the Databricks cloud provisioning connections. So having these details, the domain ID and the token ID, now you would be able to create the Databricks cloud provisioning connection. Same way, if you'd like to create Azure Cloud Provisioning connections, go to the connection under the Cloud Provisioning, select the Azure Cloud Provisioning connections. Click. You should have the subscription ID, the tenant ID, and the client ID, the secret ID in order to create the Azure Cloud Provisioning connection. If you're not knowing how to get the details, you can also involve your Azure admin in order to get this subscription ID, the tenant ID, and the client ID details. Now let me log into the portal.azure.com and I will show you how to get these details. So here I have logged into the portal.azure.com here under the resource group. Since I have already created the resource group, that is ISCTI, I'll be going to use this resource group when I'm going to create the Azure Cloud Provisioning connections. Make sure you have to create the resource group and the associated storage account. I have already created the storage account. I'll be going to use this storage account during the cloud provisioning connection, and it is must to have at least one storage account during the cloud provisioning connections. If you don't specify any storage account during the Azure cloud provisioning connections, then you will end up with getting an error. And you have to create an application ID and you have to assign the contributor role to the application. So since here I've already created the GCS BDM HDI as the application, and I have specified the contributor role to that. And in order to get the subscription ID, click on the overview where you would be able to see the subscription ID. And in order to get the tenant ID, go to the Active Directory. So under the Active Directory overview, you will be able to see the tenant ID details. Same line, under the properties, you would be able to see the directory ID details. So having these details ready, now let me create a Azure Cloud Provisioning connection. Since I have already created the connection, I'll be going to use that connection during the development. So this is the connection. HDI CPC is the Azure Cloud Provisioning connection which I have created. As you see that I have already specified the subscription ID, the tenant ID, and the client secret ID in order to create the Azure Cloud Provisioning connection. As I said, it is very important to create, it is very important to add at least one storage account in order to create the Azure Cloud Provisioning. So for that, I have already specified the blob storage details here. And these connection also can be created by using the infacmd commands. And once the cloud provisioning connections is created, now you have to create the associate Hadoop connection by clicking on the new connections. Under the cluster, there will be a Hadoop. Select the Hadoop and click on OK. Specify the name of the connection. So you can see the drop down here under the cloud provisioning connection. You can click on the drop down and you have to select the associated Hadoop cloud provisioning connections. Here, my cloud provisioning connection name is HDS CPC. So I'll be going to select this and you can create a connection. Since I've already created it, I'll be going to use these connections where you can see the associated Hadoop cloud provisioning connection is the HDI CPC, which I already created here. And make sure this Hadoop connections can be used only during the create cluster task and it cannot be used to run any other mappings. And few important things to keep in mind, if your Informatica server is on premises and if your Azure is in the different VNet, then you have to enable the VPN between those two. Or if your Informatica and the Azure in the same VPN, then you no need to, if the Informatica server and the Azure is in the same VNet, then no need to enable any VPN connectivity. Since I have already created the connection, now let me hand over this session to Sampada. So Sampada will be continuing from the workflow development using the same connections. Sampada, now you can have a control.
Hello everyone. We will see how to design a cluster workflow followed by troubleshooting steps. I have launched Informatica Developer Tool and connected to the MRS using Administrator User. To create a workflow, we need to right-click on the folder or the project, click on the new, and then the workflow. You need to provide the name for the workflow. Once you have a workflow ready, we can add different components to it. So our first component is create cluster task. This create cluster task must include a reference to the CPC or the cloud provisioning configuration which you have created in the admin console. And you need to select the respective connection type of the cloud provisioning connection. I'll select H3 Insight and the connection name. Okay, now we have our create cluster task ready. Our second component is mapping task. We can create a mapping as per our requirement and run as a mapping task in the workflow. I have created a mapping with ADLS Gen1 as source and Hive as target. For any mapping with the ephemeral cluster, we need to make sure to select the auto deploy for the Hadoop connection so that it will use the internal Hadoop connection created when the cluster is spawned. So I'll use this mapping in the workflow. Now I'll have a delete cluster task, which is our third component. If we do not add a delete cluster task in the cluster workflow, the cluster remains running when the workflow ends. Also, we need to make sure to set the task recovery strategy to restart task. This is how you need to add different components to the cluster workflow. I have already created a workflow with the mapping I want to run. In this mapping, I have one additional command task. This command task is to create the Hive connection, which will be used by the Hive target in the mapping. We do not have any option to select the internal Hive connection created. So we need to create the connection manually and use it as a parameter in the Hive mapping. So let me explain how to do this. I have a command task with this command to create a connection, and the name of the connection is auto deploy underscore Hive underscore connection. So we need to go to the mapping, click on the Hive target to the runtime properties, and here we need to assign a parameter. The parameter is already created. The name of the parameter is Hive connection, and the value is the name of the connection that you have created using command line. To run the cluster workflow, we need to deploy the workflow as application. So let us deploy this workflow as application. Right click on the workflow and then click on the deploy. You need to provide the application name. You can provide the application name here and then go to next. You need to provide the DIS, the data integration service on which you want to deploy the application, and then click on finish. So it will deploy the workflow as application. It will take a while. When the application is deployed, you need to click on the run object to run the workflow. You can monitor the progress of the workflow in the Informatica Admin Console Monitor tab. But before that, let us understand different properties of Create Cluster Task. So these are the few properties of a Create Cluster Task. The first one is the name of the cluster. The cluster name should be alphanumeric. You cannot have any special characters. If you use any special characters, then the cluster task will fail. The HDI version you can select based on the PAM document of respective Informatica or data engineering integration. The cluster size option you can select based on your requirement of the cluster, and once the cluster is deployed and once you run the mapping, we delete the cluster using delete cluster task. To process the application logs for future reference, we can select the storage type. For HDI, we have Azure Blob Storage account and ADLS Gen2 and Azure Data Lake Store, and mention the log location where the logs will be stored. So for other connection type like EMR, we have strlog URL. This is the property to store the application log. And for Azure Databricks, we have the cluster log conf property, which can be used to process the application logs. And for AWS Databricks, we have a property called cluster log conf, same as that of Azure Databricks, and you can mention the log location here. Okay. If we have to enable the verbose logging for the create cluster task, then we can set enable verbose logger equal to true in the custom properties. Also, if you want to change the Ambari URL username and password, then we can set the cluster name and the cluster password property in the custom properties. Usually, the cluster name, the Ambari username, by default it is admin, and the cluster password or the Ambari password is generated dynamically every time. But the Ambari password that you set here, it should meet the rules and restriction of the H3 inside. The Ambari password that we set here should meet the requirement of the password complexity of the H3 inside. We have a bootstrap JSON property here. This is used to deploy the cluster based on the custom site XMLs like core site XMLs, Hive site XMLs. If we have to modify anything in the core site XML or Hive site XML, then we can mention the values using JSON format in the bootstrap JSON string property. I have logged into Informatica admin console to check the status of the workflow that I have started from the developer tool. This is my workflow, and our first component, create cluster task, is running now. We will be able to see the details of the cluster that it is creating from the Azure portal. Log into Azure portal and then search with the cluster name that you have mentioned in the create cluster task, and you will be able to see the details of the cluster. This is the Ambari URL. By default, the Ambari URL is the name of the cluster .azure-h3inside.net, and I have 4 nodes. This is the cluster size and the number of cores allocated to each node. Our second component in the workflow is command task. This command task is used to create the Hive connection. Once this command task runs successfully, we will be able to see the Hive connection in the connection tab of the admin console. Refresh the connection tab and wait till the command task runs successfully. Okay, now we will be able to see the connection in the connection tab. Yeah, the name of the connection that I have mentioned in the command task is autodeploy_hive_connection. This connection will be used by the mapping for the Hive target. Now our third component, mapping task, has started. As I'm running the mapping using Spark mode of execution, we will see a Spark application ID created for this. We can get this information from the mapping log as well. To download the mapping log, just click on the mapping and click on the view log option here and download the log. This log, we'll be able to see the Hive connection that it is using. As you can see here, it says the integration service uses connection autodeploy_hive_connection for the execution of the Hive task. And also here we are seeing the storage account where our application logs will be stored. This information is mentioned in the create cluster task properties. If you don't mention, then the application log will not be persisted. To persist the logs, you have to mention the storage account and the storage mount path where you want to store the application logs. And this is my application ID. Let us go back to Informatica Monitor tab to check status. So the mapping task completed successfully. Now this command task is to delete the Hive connection that we have created. Now we will not be able to see the connection in the connection tab. Just refresh here. The connection is deleted. Now the last component, that is delete cluster task, is running. We will be able to see this progress from Azure portal also. As you can see here, this cluster is getting deleted. Now let us see the log of create cluster task to find out the Ambari URL, password and username. So this is my create cluster task log. Here will be see cluster Ambari login username, that is admin by default, and cluster Ambari login password. This will be generated dynamically every time. And as you can see here, we have an internal CCO created with this ID. So all connections will be created internally. So whenever you run a mapping with auto deploy option, then it will use the internal Hadoop connection to run the mapping. And as you can see here, we have an internal Hadoop connection with the ID internal Hadoop underscore sample cluster underscore info. So this will be used to run the mapping. The delete cluster takes a while. If you don't mention the delete cluster in the workflow, then you can go to Azure portal and delete the cluster, or you can run the command line utilities to delete the cluster. We will be able to see the progress of the create cluster task from the Azure portal. We can click on the resource group. I'm using ISC-DE as the resource group. Click on the activity log. We'll have logs for all the events. If you have to check any respective event, then just click on the event. Then it will show you the log, or if it is successful or not. We will be able to see the status from here. As I mentioned before, all the logs, including the application logs, will be deleted whenever the delete cluster task runs. So to process this application log, we need to mention the storage account at the create cluster task. So I have used Azure Blob storage account, and the blob container I have mentioned is default storage mount path -123, and the file path I have mentioned as app-logs in the create cluster task properties. There are two folders. One is Hive and another one is for OS user. This OS user is my DIS user with which I ran the mapping in the cluster workflow. This folder will have all the application log for the mapping which I ran using ephemeral cluster. Now let us see what all logs we need to collect whenever we face issue with the cluster workflow and few known issues. We can download the mapping or create cluster task log from the Informatica Admin Console Monitor tab. We just have to click on the mapping and then download the log. Or if we have to download for the cluster task, we can click on the respective cluster task and download the logs. We can also get the cluster task log from the server in the location that I have mentioned. And also, if you have to understand more about the issue that you have faced, you can get the activity log from the Azure portal. You have to click on the resource group and activity log. It will have all the information regarding the cluster creation or deletion of the cluster. To enable debug logging for the cluster task, we can set enable verbose logger equal to true in the cluster task properties, advanced properties. So these are few known issues. In this case, the create cluster task is failing because the cluster name is not alphanumeric. So you need to provide alphanumeric name for the cluster task. In this case, cluster task is failing because of authorization issue. So you need to create a contributor role and assign to the application you have created. We use this application ID in the cloud provisioning connection as client ID. In this case, whenever the cluster is created, the mapping which we run fails with the unknown host exception because the Informatica server is running on a different virtual network. So you need to have a VPN configured between the VNet used by the cluster and Informatica server, or we can use the Informatica server, which is running the same virtual network. In this case, whenever we run a mapping with Hive target, it fails with connection refused error because it is not able to use 10020 port, which is not open. So you need to make sure that the port 10020 is open from Informatica server machine. The cluster workflow was failing with the error that the co-site config and the storage profile account contain the same accounts. Because the storage account mentioned in the cloud provisioning connection was modified using Bootstrap JSON in the cluster task advanced properties, and we have a CR raised for this, and the issue is resolved in the latest release of Informatica Data Engineering Integration. So whenever we run a mapping with the ephemeral cluster and the operating system profile, it fails with the permission issue. To resolve this, you have to run using administrator user, and we have already CR raised for this. These are few known issues with the HT-Insight ephemeral cluster. We have few useful knowledge base links and references. We will share the PPT with you. You can use it for future reference. And if you face any issues in future, you can raise a case with Informatica Global Customer Support. We will assist you further. Now let us proceed to Q&A section.
Hello everyone. If you have any queries, please go ahead, Sampata. Yeah, so if you have any queries, then you can post in the Q&A window. We will address your queries. Okay, so the first question that came in is, do we have any test connection utility for cloud provisioning connection? So we don't have any utility as such, but these properties will be used during execution. And the next question is, do we have this functionalities for IICS? Please note that this is only for the data engineering integration and data engineering streaming product. And we have one more question, that is, the cloud server is owned by Informatica, or the company should lease this cloud server to run the ephemeral cluster workflow. Yeah, so Informatica does not own this. You need to have AWS or Azure subscription to create the cluster. So if you have any further questions, then we will be addressing now. You can post in the Q&A box. So we have one more question. So can we use OS profile to run the cluster workflow? As mentioned before, we cannot use any other user other than administrator users. So you need to use only administrator users to run the cluster workflow. Okay, one more question. From which version we support this ephemeral cluster feature? We support from Informatica 10.1, and we support this feature on Amazon EMR and Azure HT Insight clusters. and from Informatica 10.4.0 version, it is possible to use Databricks cluster on AWS and on Azure as well. Also, our latest version of Informatica data engineering integration is 10.4.0.2. So we recommend all the customers to upgrade to the latest version of Informatica DI. Okay, we have one more question. Where your application log will be stored after we run the cluster workflow, because we use delete cluster task, so the cluster will be deleted and all the log files will be deleted. To process the application logs, we need to provide the storage account in the cluster task properties, where all the application logs will be persisted. Okay, we have one more question, that is, can we use DIs on Grid to run the cluster workflow? Yes, you can run the cluster workflow using the DIs, which is running on Grid. Also, the PPT and recording will be shared to all the attendees. You can use it for your future references.
We have some more time to end our presentation. Please put in your questions under the Q&A box. Looks like we have answered most of the questions. If we haven't answered any of your questions, we'll get back to you after the presentation. Thank you for joining the webinar. We will see you on our next Tech Tuesdays. Thank you.